Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can't talk and hear yourself, I won't be able to hear you. So if your mic needs to be closer to your mouth, that's usually where it needs to be.
Okay.
So you can hear yourself probably a little better now.
Yeah, I believe, yeah.
So now we're just gonna get this thing going and get it warmed up, and it should be pretty easy. A little sticky on that one. Listen to the weather.
Airport information Sierra 0254 Zulu, wind 240 at 9x, visibility 10, sky clear, temperature 17, dew point 11, altimeter 29 at 9 at 3. Visual approach and use, landing and departing runways 28. Notice the M and Hayward DME monitored. Hazardous weather information for Northern California and coastal waters available on Hayward for flight service frequencies. Advise for contact, you have Sierra.
Information Sierra. Alright. So the first part of the flight, you're just going to have your feet down and your hands in your lap, just like you are. I'll give you the controls up in the air once we get kind of away from the city and all that kind of stuff, and we'll get a little high altitude. It's a lot easier to fly above the Earth. But you just kind of use the reference on the horizon. Right now, the top of the compass is for me. So somewhere in there, maybe up there. Okay. So that's going to be your kind of reference to where the horizon is. And that's what's going to give you the best way to know if it goes up or down or left or right, those kind of things. You'll kind of use it to point in the right direction. And basically, when you're flying forward, it may go down farther, and we may have to hold it in a forward attitude just so that you have a more consistent horizon. We just adjust our sight picture to what's necessary. And I'll tell you when. I'll tell you when the actual stuff is pretty good. So, alright, so everything is in the green. Just gonna check our carb. I have to check our systems to see if everything works properly. 1,000, less 7% drop. And if you were to basically become a student, we would be showing you how to do everything on your own. Basically, so that you can, because it's fun to go fly and get a ride, but it's way more fun when you can take people up for rides and stuff.
I know, it's something like to skydive with your own canopy instead of in tandem.
Exactly. But it's even funner when you can go tandem with a friend, right? Kind of thing. If you got somebody that you want to go with. Alright, so we're going to take the frictions off. Governor's going to come on. We're going to turn this RPM all the way up to 80%.
Above.
Governor's going to take over. So the governor's doing his job.
Cessna 1400, wind 25010, runway 28 right, clear to land. 28 right, clear to land. Thank you, Delta Maiden.
We're going to check a low running heart. What?
So basically you said that you need to stick to this
well, so watch what happens. I'll roll the throttle down. I'm going to make the horn and light come on, and then I'm going to let go of it. See how the governor takes it over, and see how the throttle moves on its own? That's the governor doing its job. So see how it kind of rocked back and forth? That's actually the governor turning it. So when we take the controls, we're going to be kind of grasping it more of in a cage instead of holding it tight.
So basically there are two, yours and mine.
I do, yeah.
Okay.
That's because everything is dual controls, so that way I can keep us from doing something you're not supposed to, kind of thing. All right, you ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. We don't really have that much sunlight left, so So before I take off the ground, I'm going to just stop any movement, so that way I can come up straight. I'm going to watch my power. Today's power is going to be about 23.5 for our hover, and since this is a beta, it's going to be our kind of max continuous at 20 degrees.
You mean this manifold pressure?
Yeah, the manifold pressure is kind of the position of how much pull you're putting on the engine. I got to give them a call. Hayward Tower, helicopter 831 Tango over helicopter parking with Sierra, like a right downwind departure.
Helicopter 831 Tango, Hayward Tower 12408, right downwind departure approved. Taxiway Alpha at Echo, clear for takeoff.
Taxiway Alpha at Echo, clear for takeoff, helicopter 19 Tango. So I don't have a lot of power in this helicopter because it's a beta and you're heavy, so I got to go really slow because I'm trying to keep that aircraft essentially from settling.
Grumman Tiger 28797,
So the slower I go,
Tower, flight towards Cal State, traffic 1 mile northeast of Cal State, descending westbound for Oakland, Super Keener, leaving 2,700. When able, report that traffic in sight and pass behind.
Unfamiliar with Cal State, and we'll be looking at the traffic 797.
Grumman Tiger
Gonna pedal
797 and that previously called
gonna point
traffic
to
is
direction. We're
currently
going
at
right
your
into the sunrise.
11 o'clock moving through your 12 o'clock
We're clear for
position.
takeoff,
Just
everything
turn
green, no
20
lights,
degrees
comes out of
left,
yellow.
pass behind that aircraft.
And we'll just ease it forward.
797, 20 to the west.
That's already not so easy forward.
What's that?
That's already not so easy.
Oh,
Traffic is
what I mean by easing it forward is I am
then enter right base for runway 28 right.
I'm adding enough just to get it to move forward in a slow way. So I have to turn before these houses because that's Class Charlie airspace. So I have to be essentially able to avoid Class Charlie airspace. So we're going to fly essentially towards these kind of buildings. This is our downwind. I've got one person that I can see flying around right now. It doesn't look like they're going to be anywhere near us. I'm going to keep
Tiger 797, traffic on right down departure, helicopter altitude indicates 300.
797.
Cessna 429er, taxi to parking via taxiway Alpha. This frequency, have a good night. Taxiing to Green Rob, frequency, have a good night to tonight.
So it's a little hazy, but you can still see the horizon off to the distance. So we're going to hold about a 65 knot attitude the whole entire time. And I'm going to be kind of pointing us a little bit towards the bottom of that mountain, if that makes sense. Like you see the hillside that kind of goes off into the distance and kind of dips down. That's where I'm going to kind of point the aircraft. Now the movement that I make on the cyclic is very small. I'm going to kind of allow the aircraft to get bumped around a little bit. I'm not going to over control it to try to get it back.
Tiger 797, runway 28 right, clear to land.
But we'll stay about 600 feet or 500 right now. So I'll just pull a little more power, and that's going to climb us up in altitude.
797, would you prefer?
But we want to look outside most of the time that we're flying, and then I can give you the controls when you're ready. So I'm going to bring this down into your lap. You're going to put your feet on the pedals.
You're assigned runway 2 right. I can certainly accommodate.
I'm going to give it to you in a position that's, it's not comfortable for you. You have to put it up a little higher. It's got to be in position to control the aircraft and not to be comfortable for you. Go ahead and put your hand on the collective too, because you're going to have your hand on the collective. But all you're doing is going to be holding it this position. If I let go, it's going to drop, and the manifold pressure is going to drop as well. That's how I know. So to fly the aircraft, basically all we have to do is maintain about this same attitude with the reference that you picked for the horizon, and look off into the distance. Don't look inside, look outside.
Okay.
Okay, you have the controls.
I have the controls.
You have the controls. So if I let go, you see how it kind of wants to move in a direction? We just have to move it back to that reference point on the horizon, so bring it forward a little bit,
Okay.
and that's all we need right there. This is the attitude you have to do to maintain a level attitude. Now, we're going to turn down this road. We just have to slightly think about it and move the cyclic in the direction we want to go.
Okay.
And that's all. It takes a little while because we're only moving it slightly. Give it a second to actually put the input into the rotor system so we start turning the aircraft.
I see.
And then
So there is a small delay.
well, it's not a delay per se. What it's doing is the inertia has to get taken care of essentially, because you're turning one way. It takes a little while to change the direction of the aircraft. So you have to wait until you can compensate and overcome the inertia of the aircraft moving in one direction. So I'm going to let go of the collective as well. And you notice that if the aircraft is about 19, this will show that we're descending a little bit.
And what should I do? Put the collective...
Just pull it up a little bit more, but just gradually bring it up until it shows 0 right there. That's all you need.
Okay.
And so we're gonna keep following this road for a little while. This will get us over to a training area that we like to use.
Oh, that's actually really interesting. I had no experience like this on my previous flight.
Okay. So rotating the handlebars doesn't do anything. It's moving the actual center of this that changes direction of things. So what we're doing is trying to change the direction of this.
Terminal straight ahead to frequency.
Just think about a vacuum cleaner hose. Quick change approved, helicopter 100 Tango. We're going to be back in about 15 minutes, so thanks. But yeah, so we're just going to be kind of maintaining this attitude. Now, once we get a little bit farther, we're going to do some turns, and the turns itself are all going to be referencing to that point on the horizon. If the point drops down, you're going to speed up and go down towards the ground. If the point goes up, you're going to climb.
And now we're descending, so
No, you're not descending, actually. You're climbing. The ground is coming up at you. That's the difference. We're not descending. The ground is coming up.
I just thought that we are below the 0 on this vertical speed.
This is not going to be 100% accurate for anything.
Okay.
But what I want you to do is just look outside and don't pay attention too much to the inside, because the outside is going to tell you more. Let's get this nice and relaxed in your leg. Position it so that you can just bring it straight in a comfortable way.
Okay.
And then just a little forward to give us a little more speed, and that's all you need right there. It's super, super small. So now we are descending just a hair, but that's fine. But I want you to turn towards this lake. So basically all we're gonna do is just give it a second to start moving the aircraft, and we'll go towards the lake. Just nose it forward just a hair, just push it just a hair, there we go. Just so that your point on the horizon that you picked out stays on that point. Because right now we're about 55 nautical miles per hour.
Tower, say destination.
So that's about 65, for the thing. But we want to go about 60 knots on a normal day.
I don't believe that you lose the controls, and actually I am piloting it.
Huh? What do you mean?
Runway 28 right, taxi via Alpha Bravo.
I got my feet. Okay, all your controls are you. This is all you. I'm not doing anything. But it doesn't take much, okay? So if we want to turn this way just a little bit, we'll turn left. We just kind of move it a little bit to the left. Give it a second to kind of catch up. And the aircraft can move in that direction. And you're doing great with the pedals. You notice you don't have to do very much with them. But if you can't see both of those little strings, all we have to do is just push just a little pedal in to get that string to show up on your side. And let's push it forward just a little bit. Is your point on the horizon, has that moved up or down?
Oh.
That's okay, you're fine. You don't have to be nervous, okay? But all you have to do is just look outside and use that point on the horizon to kind of control it back to where it needs to be. All you're doing is guiding it to that spot again. Every single time. All you have to do is just guide it down just a little bit, and that's going to speed us up.
Okay.
That's all you need. You can hold it. Look at our speed is going to go in faster. We're at 60 knots. So we just kind of hold that position if we want to keep that speed. That's about the same. So the aircraft is very capable of going very sharp turns left and right, but it's not necessary to do that.
I don't want to do it for sure.
No, you do want to do it. It's fun. It's fun. So the thing that I want you to do is I want you to look outside left and right. You got the whole city and horizon kind of around us. And we're going to check to see if there's any airplanes that we have to worry about because they're all over the place. And then I want you to turn to left, and I want you to just lean it over. Keep leaning it over, and I'll tell you when to stop. Nope, just let it keep coming.
Okay.
So this is about a 60 or a 30-degree bank angle.
Oh my god.
Now we are descending because at that angle we have to increase our power to keep us from descending. We want to keep our speed though. Wow, look at the sun right now. Let's turn towards the sun. No, you don't have to push too much.
Okay.
Yep. Right there is good. Ah, look at that. Right off to the sunset.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect deal. Perfect teammate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to get dark pretty quick, and there's a lot of haze out here too, so we'll have to kind of watch to see if our visibility goes away, because we have to land back at Hayward later on.
Cessna 20858, Hayward Tower.
We turned basically left and right. I'm going to take a picture of that
off
actually.
your left-hand side. If you're not familiar with the landmark, suggest the heading of 030 upon departure. Runway 28 right, clear for takeoff.
Yeah, we're clear for takeoff on 28 right and right crosswind and then 030 heading inside.
So we can't head on this direction unless we have to talk to somebody for too long. So we can turn, let's go ahead and you can turn to the right, use that compass point on the horizon, and just kind of ease it around. And all you're doing is just turn in the aircraft, look the direction you want to go, just like driving a car. You don't have to bring this arm up. You can leave it down.
Okay.
You can just kind of move it on top of your leg. So we're kind of turning around and slowing down, so all we have to do is just a little forward. There we go. Let's keep turning. So keep turning.
Still okay.
Yeah.
I just said that they were returning back.
I want you to look out there. I don't want you to look inside. Just look out. I mean, this is the fun part of flying, is seeing where you're going. The aircraft is pretty comfortable at 65 knots. It kind of gives you that normal feel. Well, so the sun is going down.
Okay, we need to then to turn around.
We will. I want to get you your full intro flight, kind of, half hour kind of thing, right?
Okay.
All right, so let's turn again to the right. And if you turn really sharp, you need to just pull a little up on the collective to keep yourself from descending.
Cessna 858, traffic
And
is...
just look outside, look at the horizon, look at the spot on the horizon.
Helicopter leaving at 2,500, contact Oakland Tower now, have a nice flight.
We're going to Oakland Tower and looking for that traffic, 85.
So that sun is down almost all the way.
Yeah, here the sunset is very quick.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to show you that this helicopter, if you have an engine failure, what happens.
Okay, probably you need to then to the controls.
I'm going to be on the controls.
Okay, You have the controls?
I have the controls. So I'm going to just kind of give us a little bit more, I want you on them too. I want you to be able to feel them. So put your hand on the collective as well. Because I want you to feel what I'm actually doing to control this descent. Because when you have an engine failure, you're not just dropping out of the sky. You actually can control the descent rate so that it's nice and comfortable to get down to the ground. So I'll pull a little bit of power first, just to keep our altitude. We're about 600 feet off the ground. And we'll lose our altitude about 1,500 feet per minute when I do this. Our airspeed's a little low for what we want to do. So I'm just going to increase the airspeed just a hair. Then right over this green or this kind of dirty spot, I'm going to go down collective. I'm going to roll the throttle off. So now the engine is no longer keeping the RPM where it needs to be. And I'll just recover before we get to the ground once the needles are met. Now with a helicopter is not like an airplane. We just have to maintain an altitude that's not going to be a danger to persons or property on the ground. And since we're going to be flying over this kind of lake area, I don't think there's anybody else still here. We're pretty clear. We just have to watch out for birds. We can kind of cruise this, and we're about 200 feet off this lake. About 200 feet. So I can turn really sharp.
No.
This is not even as much as it can go.
It's because it's small?
No, it can turn more, but I'm not going to make it go that much. But I'm just
Please
going to...
don't, yeah.
What's that?
Please don't.
There's calling here ground from ATP. Coming through point broken.
So I'm going to turn really, really sharp.
Charlie Delta, Hayward ground, thank you. Runway 28 right, taxi via Alpha Bravo, code on request 48, base 4.
So everything that I'm doing though is a very small amount of movement. It doesn't take much for this to get kind of moved around. Now one of the cool things, because this is a helicopter versus an airplane, we can actually slow down.
By just pulling a bit aft?
Well, yeah, we can aft cyclic. We don't have to pull any more power. I'm going to come back around. I'm going to face the other direction. And then if I want to climb, I can climb at the same time as I slow the aircraft down. And I can keep slowing down. And keep slowing down. That way I'm above about 400 feet.
But you're ascending, so...
I'm climbing. Because I want to be high if I'm slow. Because if I'm slow, if I have an engine failure, I need to be able to compensate for that. And at above 400 feet. So I'm still above effective translational lift. I just wanted to show you that a helicopter, we can slow down pretty good. So now we're going to start heading back to Hayward here shortly.
Yeah, probably.
Why? What do you mean? It's way too much fun. You don't think this is fun?
I think this is fun, but...
You too nervous?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're currently about 8 miles to the south of Hayward, so I'm going to give them a call and let them know we're at 500 feet and bound to land. As long as I can hear them. Hayward Tower, helicopter 831 under Tango is about 8 miles to the southeast, inbound to land 500 feet with Sierra.
Helicopter 831 under Tango, Hayward Tower, make approach straight in, taxiway Alpha, report 3 mile final.
Report 3 mile final, straight in, 1 under Tango, thank you. So we can fly over these hills. We're going to see if there's anybody hiking over here. There's a lot of paths. We're not going to try to be too much of a pain in the butt to the neighbors. That's a nice big house there though.
Yeah. There are some animals.
Yeah, there's a lot of cows.
Oh, horses. I actually learning for how to ride a horse for 2 years now.
Okay.
Don't the owners complain about the noise?
We pass over so quickly that they really don't know who to complain about. And if they're not looking outside, no, I mean, no, but we're really high, and so we're not really going to be that much of a hassle to them. So I want to give you the controls again.
Okay.
Okay.
I take the control.
You have the controls.
I have the control.
You have the controls. So now we're going to fly kind of in this direction to kind of point us towards the airport. And the same thing, we're just kind of holding the collective up.
Yeah, because we're descending.
Yeah. So if we don't want to descend anymore, we just hold the collective up.
Okay.
So let's turn a little bit to the right. So this is Mission Boulevard. This is kind of a good road to kind of give us directions into where we need to go. So we're not using the pedals to change the direction of the aircraft. So we have to use the pedals to keep us in trim. So let's kind of follow this road. So let's look out, follow that way.
Hayward Tower, 0694 Charlie Delta, absolute right, ready for takeoff.
And now, there, you just
0694
now you
Charlie
just
Delta,
turn
Hayward Tower, make
and
a right cross
headed in one direction by yourself.
Hand side, runway 28 right, clear for takeoff.
You made all the adjustments in order to make
Right,
it
clear for takeoff. Keep
go in the direction we wanted to go, all by yourself.
Get that block. Charlie Delta.
It was a pretty good accomplishment.
04 Charlie Delta.
So I'm going to turn on our landing light.
The departure frequency is open tower 118.3 and your squawk is 0335.
But where is the airport?
183.
So the airport is going to be off. There's actually, there's a kind of a rotating beacon out there. It's going to be green and white, and you'll see it flash. There's white, and then just a second from now, there's green. You see that? So that's where the control tower
Airport
is.
maintenance, proceed on to
Oh, we're quite far away.
Yeah, we're 5 miles away from it still.
Thank you.
So they wanted us to call 3 miles away, and we're slow, so that means we need to just push a little forward. And you can tell when we get a little slow because things get really quiet with the air. So if you look down and you see, oh, I want to be about 60 knots, and then I pull a little collective and just forward a little bit. Good, just like that. That's good. Good control of the collective. Just keep it forward though. You have to kind of hold it forward just to keep it that speed in. And that's all you need to do. So you can kind of see right in front there's like a sign. Hopefully you have 20/20 vision, right?
Yeah.
You see that sign that's flashing? It's a kind of a sign that's at the mall. That mall is directly in line where we want to go. So we have the mall and we have the light way off in the distance.
Sirius 4 Charlie Delta, contact
That's where we
Oakland
need to
Tower.
go.
Nice flight. Contacting Oakland Tower, X-ray Alpha Charlie Delta.
So now you're getting to log night time, pretty much. It's a little hazy because we've had a fire to the north. That's been causing a lot of the issues with the visibility and stuff. So try not to look too much inside. Try to just look outside and, you know, just kind of enjoy the fact that you're flying without any help.
I'm trying.
So if you're really rigid, you're probably not comfortable, right?
It's not comfortable.
Yeah, try to relax your arm down into position
Okay.
that you can still move side to side and front to back.
Hayward
But
Tower.
just have your hand down so that's
I'm
easier.
clear about 28 left. I'd like to proceed down Zulu, back to localizer. Airport maintenance, proceed on taxiway Zulu towards localizer. Proceeding on Zulu to localizer, thank you.
Niner Tango is 3 miles.
Helicopter 19 Tango, wind 25010, taxiway Alpha at Echo, clear to land.
Taxiway Alpha at Echo, clear to land, 100 Tango.
But I do remember that the most sensitive thing than the cyclic is the pedals. Pedals are awfully sensitive.
Oh yeah, well the pedals are more sensitive when you're on the ground because you have to actually maintain it. But it's more about trying to find a sweet spot than you are trying to just put in inputs. Just like do you have ever flown a drone and stuff? Have you ever flown a drone?
No.
Okay. Well, everything is about. Do you play video games?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so everything with video games is about finding that sweet spot to be able to creep across like a cliff or something if you're trying to balance. So if you ever play anything like Tomb Raider or you're trying to balance over a log or something like that, you have to balance just right. Well, that's the same thing with the pedals and the controls. You have to balance everything and find that sweet spot to make it do what you want it to do. So you input the pedals only enough, just a little bit, to give it enough to do what you're expecting it to do. Chicken ready to land it? Are you going to land it all by yourself?
No.
Okay.
I just, I give the control.
I'm going to be on the controls with you. I'm going to kind of guide you through it. So we're about 600, or about 550 feet. We can start our descent here, but we're not going to get too low. And we're going to keep our speed up because we want to be able to one, if we have an emergency, we can land in the parking lot or something like that.
So you took the control, but I still just feel it, yeah?
I'm going to be on the controls with you, guiding you through this. So I want you to basically be on the controls like you were.
Okay.
And I'm going to just tell you just what to do.
Hayward, Jared, is maintenance.
And we'll see if we can get down to the ground when you're doing it.
Oh my god. I just know that just before the ground I need to pull the collective.
Right. But when you pull the collective, everything in the green, northern lights, carbs out of yellow, trim is down. That's basically just to put us into a hover.
Cessna 934, wind 24010, runway 28 left, clear for the option to make left close traffic.
Clear for the option 28 left and left close traffic.
So somebody else is flying around. So you see that rotating beacon a little bit brighter now? So we don't want to descend lower than this because we got neighbors we're trying to be nice to.
Okay.
But we're going to be not landing on the runway, we're going to be landing on the taxiway next to the runway. So when we want to slow down, all we're going to do is we're going to lower the collective to kind of give us a gradual descent.
Okay.
And we're going to just aft cyclic a little bit so that what it does with the speed is bleeding off the airspeed slowly.
Okay.
Now you got to put in some pedals, so we're going to have to put the pedals in. Right now what we're doing is correcting for the wind, so we're kind of crabbing into the wind. Below 50 feet, we want to straighten it out so we can land straight ahead. So we're going to start to use, it's kind of like a zip line. Have you ever been on a zip line? Have you ever been on a rope that zips down on a hilltop and stuff?
I'm not sure that I understand what I mean.
A zip line. You ride a cable down to the ground. A zip line.
I believe no.
Okay, probably not then.
Okay.
But anyways, it should.
It's hard to think about something when you are about to land.
Sure. No, well, it makes sense when I tell you the reason why. Because the zip line is a constant kind of descent down to the ground. We want to feel like we're doing that as well.
I see. It's something like called glissade, I believe.
What's that?
I believe I know what you're talking about. Okay. Zipline is a line along which you gradually descend to the...
to a spot, like some kind of pad or something like that, yep. Okay, so now once we get to the ground, we're in a hover, and we have to use the pedals to kind of maintain that.
Okay.
So once we're in a hover, the winds kind of want to play around with us. So it kind of kicks us, making us to have a little bit more work than we want.
But why we are so low?
Because we don't have a lot of power. Go ahead and you see there's a black knob below you, below the collective. I want you to push that down. Right next to your collective hand.
This one?
No.
Or
Next to the collective hand.
okay, collective.
Okay, there's a knob that's sticking up. I want you to push that black thing down.
Okay.
That's going to give us a little more power so that we can hover. One of the reasons why we're so low, because you and I are both heavy, and it's requiring a lot of power to move forward. And we're getting a little bit up.
Okay.
And it's easier to move forward with, or it's easier to hover when you have the winds.
Wow.
Hayward Tower, TBM 985, Bravo Whiskey, and the RNAV 28 left, information Sierra. TBM 985, Bravo Whiskey, Hayward Tower, runway 28 left, continue. Continue, 28 left, TBM 985, Bravo Whiskey.
I believe there should be some.
runway
What's up?
28 left, clear for the option.
Do you, how basically you let the pilot do all these things and this thing and the pedals at the same time?
I let every person who's new that is here for an intra-flight do the same thing.
Yeah.
I show the exact same thing every time I do an intra-flight. This one is a little underpowered. You're a little bit big for this kind of helicopter. Just edit that version out though when I edit this edit this little conversation out.
Yeah.
This is called a Robinson R22 Beta, so it's got an 0320 engine. So it's a little less power than those. So that one has a 0360, so it has a little bigger displacement in the engine. So this one, I gotta see if that's what we're doing. We're gonna cool it down again, just like anything.
By the way, should we again pull this up?
Nope, this actually, when we pull this up, this heats up the engine, and we're right now trying to cool down the engine. So to cool down the engine properly, we want to give it some time without that heat on. But I can turn off my avionics so that we don't have to listen to everybody. And I'm just going to wait until we're 2 minutes, and until that that needle comes to about halfway to kind of cool it down.
I see.
But yeah, we're hovering low because this doesn't have a lot of power, and for me to move forward, I have to take away some of that lift and turn it into thrust in a direction that I want to go. Well, I don't have a lot of lift that I could produce with this engine, so I'm kind of like just whatever, and I have to just barely move it forward, but I don't want to touch the ground, so I have to move really slowly.
But why do you have some these problems when you're hovering, but not in the air?
We have the problem when we're hovering because when we're hovering in our own downwash. When we're in the air, the downwash is getting blown behind us. So when we go fast, all the air that we're interacting with is clean. There's not these vortices.
So basically, the air is disrupted by our own air that is reflected from the airfield.
Well, so our rotor blades produce a donut of air that we call vortices. This donut of air just is circling all the way around us. And when the air is coming from above, it gives us the worst amount of lift.
I see.
We want the air coming from more of the side. When the air is coming from the side, it gives us better lift components and everything else. Turn that off. But yeah, there's a lot to learn. Usually when I teach somebody how to fly, I do ground at the same time. I do quite a bit of ground first before I get into actually teaching them how to hover and other things too. because there's a lot to know about the aircraft and what it does, and it will help you to understand what's happening in a hover, help you to understand why the aircraft performs a certain way, and why when we're flying forward it doesn't take as much power. So you can take your headset off. I can find a sweet spot. We have a little wind out there. It's kind of makes it hard. So our power gets significantly affected by this, because this is a heater that's pulling off the heat from from the exhaust manifold, and so that heat's going into the engine already, and it reduces the amount of power we actually can produce.
But why we can't just keep it like this for the whole flight?
Because if we do, we'll get what's called carb icing whenever we descend. So carb icing is basically, it's making it so that the, give me 1 second, we'll stop this first. So you need 3 things for fire to burn. You need fuel, you need a spark, and you need air. And if you lose one of those, the engine will stop working. So we want the engine to continue to work. So we're making sure we have enough fuel. And the way we make sure we have enough fuel is we watch our fuel gauge. And then when we're talking about like the air, we have to have air going in through the carburetor. And it needs to be in a nice good flow, and if it gets blocked by ice, we won't have air going into our engine, and that becomes a problem.
That was a perfect flight, thanks.
You're welcome. Well, come on out and look at